Okay.
Okay, so ready to go? All right, I'm Val Kalagian, and I brought another teacher with me, Melissa Hagan, who will be helping me tonight. And we are going to be talking about using iPads in the classroom. We're going to focus on pre-K through second grade, touch a little bit maybe on some of our third and fourth grade stuff that we do, but that's really where we're going to stop it today. I'm from Sullivan. I've been teaching for 30 years. I'm an instructional technology coordinator. I've been in that position since 2009 school year. Is that the year you, 2008, 2009? Yeah. Yeah, that. And Melissa took my second grade classroom whenever I got my position. So she just kind of became part of what I do. So anyway, I've been doing this for a long time. And in that time frame, Sullivan Schools, which is where we teach, has gone from just bringing in more and more technology to becoming a one-to-one school district, K through 12. Our pre-K students aren't one-to-one. They were last year when we were doing more remote stuff, but we do have iPad devices for them as well in the classroom that they use. They're just not one-to-one. But all the other classrooms and stuff are all one-to-one. So the students are issued their device at the beginning of the year. They do turn them in at the end of the year and stuff, but they don't get new ones except for in kindergarten, of course, third grade, sixth grade, and ninth grade. So that's when we switch out. So that's kind of where we are with the whole thing. Technology has been a passion of mine for a long time, so I was thrilled to death when I got to do this kind of stuff. And the iPads and this initiative was one of my babies. So I've really pushed for this for a long time and feel very confident in what we've been doing. And we've had some pitfalls, as well as some really great experiences.
Was it like a teacher committee kind of decide on equipment, administration, or how did you arrive at how you were going to, what your equipment was going to look like?
We did. We started with a teacher and administrative and a couple of parents as a committee, kind of discussing all the options. We brought in different samples of different types of things, Chromebooks, iPads, laptops, all different types of things for the student, what we thought we'd maybe want to use. And we went up to Chicago and went to Apple and got some training and really spent some time with them to see how things were, how that stuff worked. We went to some other schools that were Chromebook schools and really watched how they were using them and stuff. And after quite a bit of time, and I'd say it was probably almost a full year of really delving into everything, we decided and opted to go with the iPads. And we did a smaller launch to begin with. We got devices for all the teachers originally and gave them to the teachers so that they could start really playing with them and learning. And then that following school year, so we gave them to them at the end of the school year so they had them all summer and everything. That following school year, we gave the devices to 2 grade levels to begin with. And then midway through the year, we added another grade level so that we had 3 grade levels. And then since then, after that, we just kind of upped it to where we were decided, nope, we're just going to go all the way in, and we did 3rd grade through 12th grade, and then we've slowly added in K2. Originally, our kindergarten through 2nd grade shared, so there were 50 in each grade level, and they had to share them. So when we moved over to the one-to-one and stuff, it became a lot easier for the teachers to really incorporate it more into their curriculum and their stuff because they actually had them with them. So, 5th grade up, take them home. Kindergarten through 4th grade, they stay at school still. So we don't allow them to take them home, except for last year during COVID when you never knew when you were going to be doing remote stuff. And then that's when everybody had them at home. So I miss that part of it sometimes with the younger kids. I liked being able to send them home, and we're going to talk a little bit about why we did and stuff. But it really has probably helped with some of the everything's here, everything's charged, everything's ready, because they sit in carts in our classrooms. So that's kind of a nice feature as well. Okay.
When I was pulling up your email, I noticed an old email from think it was you from 2016, because my wife and I and another faculty member came for training at your school in August 2016.
Okay.
You had an open session, you had a session, there were spots open and we registered.
Oh, yeah, for the Apple, yes.
Yeah, yep.
Yes. That was when we were really beginning our push and stuff with everything. And so I had that whole thing that Apple decided to do that with me, and we opened it up to everybody. It was a great day. That one was really good. They brought in a bunch of their distinguished educators to actually teach the sessions.
Actually, we don't have time for probably right now, but yeah, that'd be worth knowing is how you train the staff at some point. But Apple obviously was involved in it, but I don't want to distract you like I always do, but.
Yes,
Do
so.
they still have that group in Illinois, distinguished educators? Because they used to have it, and I haven't heard from it in years.
They do. I don't know if it's been as active with as much of the stuff anymore, and I know Apple still has their Distinguished Educator Program and stuff, which we had them come in. So we originally initially took some teachers up that were part of our committee and did some training and some stuff with Apple up there. Then we had Apple come in and do that training, and I've had an Apple, like our Apple education consultant has come in, probably 2 or 3 other times to do trainings. Like we've had one that was really geared towards the elementary. We've had one that was more middle school and high school. And then like the day before shutdown, we had a school improvement day that I had an Apple educator that was in doing training, and she did a lot of stuff with the things that come actually on the iPad and not focusing on other apps. So really focusing on the apps that are the Apple apps that come with it and how to use those better. Because that's probably an area that we still struggle with and stuff. And then all the other training has really been myself, a few other teachers that have like picked up on some specific things within certain apps, and then our media specialist at our district level, media specialist and stuff. She and I do a lot of our trainings together. But that's really how we've done most of our training for our staff. So, anything else that you can think of, Melissa?
No.
I mean, we do we do a lot of, in our school improvement days, sessions, and that becomes sometimes like I'll be a session, she'll be a session, you know, we'll have, so that way it's more focused on those types of things and stuff. And then to train our students, we've done in the past, which we haven't done since we've come back, but tech days where we teach, and I love tech days. They're so much fun where we'll have, especially our elementary one, because we have middle school and high school students come over and teach as well. Where we'll have people come in and they'll teach specifically how to use different apps. So the kids pick like 5 or 6 sessions that they go to throughout the day to learn about those apps and how to use those and stuff. And they have so much fun doing it. So, I mean, even my middle school and high school kids enjoyed it and enjoy doing it and stuff. So that will definitely be something we'll be bringing back again. We just haven't gotten back to it since we've been back from the COVID stuff. But that's kind of one of our ways we would kind of really work with training the teacher or the students. And then of course me going into the classrooms, so to work on specific apps with them. So we focus really on the iPad as an instructional tool. It is really one of those things that I don't want it to become, let's use technology for technology's sake. I want it to become a tool to help teach what we're already teaching in our classroom. And so that's really where our focus has been, and where my focus on training our teachers has been. So in that sense, we've really striving to take and get these kids and teachers to use it in a way that will enhance everything that we're doing in the classroom. So I try not to focus a lot on, my computer went blank.
Oh, the computer hit yeah.
There we go.
There we go, yeah, the desktop.
When the desktop goes to sleep.
Yeah, we're asleep, it's okay.
Sorry.
So it's fine. So anyway, we focus a lot on ways that you can integrate it all together, which is what my job really is in our district. So at the elementary level, in the past, I've gone in and I like teach actual technology lessons to teach the kids how to use specific things and stuff, and I still do that some, but we're really pulling away from that because it became one of those things where when we were doing that too much, it became, we have tech class and then we have our regular classes, and we weren't really integrating the things together. So now I'll go in and teach like a new app to them and show them how to do one or whatever, but our real focus is if you're doing a project and you want to do something, how can I help you figure out ways that we can incorporate it and use the technology to really benefit and enhance that. And we do focus on SAMR in our school district, so we really try to focus on getting our teachers to use the SAMR model when they are using technology, which is, the SAMR model is substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And when you're really looking at what your instructional levels are and how you're using the technology, how are you using that? So a prime example would be when they used to write an essay on pencil and paper. If they just type it in like Google Docs or Pages or some other program and stuff, that's a substitution. And then if they're doing the augmentation, they're using some of the tools within that program to help them to make their writing better. Modification would be when they're doing some stuff with like peer editing with notes back and forth with each other and they're really collaborating. And then redefinition is when you're changing that completely up and turning it into something that you would have never been able to have done without the technology.
Yeah, in the K-12 world, we talk about SAMR. In the higher ed, it's TPAC or whatever, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, so we really focus on that a lot, and I talk with my teachers about that a lot. Like, how is this beneficial? And because it's not always beneficial. Sometimes the good old-fashioned way is still maybe the best way to do it. So I really want them to know, like, are you using technology because you just think you need to incorporate technology, or are you using technology because it's really going to be a tool that's going to help benefit and really enhance what these kids are learning and help them to remember what they're doing and help them to kind of walk out of there with an oh wow moment. And that's what we really want. So, go ahead.
The problem is, doesn't pertain really too much to this, is that conversation and how you make that balance across your staff of substitution. I'm just doing something the same way I did it without it. You know, I use a whiteboard instead of a screen, whatever it is, versus really transforming instructional design. I mean, how do you have that conversation so it's not just, it's this boxes and wires and stuff like that? Because we have that problem around here in terms of how we make that balance between just doing the stuff we used to do. And there's some teachers and faculty that are like that, and yet there's not a lot of them that are talking about transforming their instruction in terms of our classes that we have. And I shouldn't ask that question since it's not germane to
No, it's fine.
young kids.
We struggle with it. And I think, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, if you have a teacher that's of an older generation, they're more likely not going to do much more than substitution.
Be nice.
But
I'm trying. I'm just,
But, no, I mean,
they're set in their ways.
Actually, if you didn't say you were struggling with it as a district,
Yeah.
you'd be lying. I mean, every district struggles.
Yes, 100%.
But how, I'm older than any teacher you have. So, you know, when we talk about what we did 40 some odd years ago, we did Lego logo, we did all sorts of things that old timers used to do, and we did project-based learning, and a lot of the schools focused around those things. But I wish we had this technology in 1978 when I started. But it seems like people, teachers, faculty are much more direct instruction oriented now.
I would even agree with that. And I mean, I definitely have a lot of my older teachers that are set in their ways, but I have a few that are willing to do something, even if it's outside their comfort zone. One of my third grade teachers, who is probably my least technologically savvy teachers, is probably the one teacher that is the most likely to try something, even though she's completely uncomfortable with it. Now, she uses me, like she only plans them and stuff if I can come in and help team teach with her, because that makes her feel more comfortable and confident with it. But she's doing things with her kids when we do those things that they will remember and that they love doing and are enjoying. And then I have some brand new ones that this is all they're gonna do, and this is, and it makes me a little sad, because again, I'm one of those older teachers, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and here I've transferred into a completely different position so that I can teach this and stuff because it's a passion of mine, and stuff. But I know that some people, they just don't feel comfortable with it, but they also don't take that time, I guess, to really learn it. And I don't know what the right answer is or the way to get around that. So, not really sure how
Yeah, I
to
think
bring that about.
interest level plays a big factor in it. If you're someone who is very interested in technology, you're obviously going to find the ways to incorporate that. Some people are scared, or it's just not interesting to them as a teacher, and I feel like they will, you know, avoid it at all costs.
But she's pretty interested in doing anything that I gear towards her until I say coding.
Right.
And then she's like going, count me out, I'm done.
We're having a code.org workshop in June.
Oh,
Where code.org is coming. You have to go to that. It'll make it seem just easy for you.
I used to take the kids down to the lab and stuff, and we'd do code.org on the computers in the lab, and she'd look at me and she'd go, I don't even know how they're doing this or what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me. and I'd just be like, it's fine. They're having fun, and look how much they're learning on how to do this and stuff. But she was like, I have no idea. I don't know how to make that work. So, but
It's mind-boggling to me.
but it's, you know,
You can do it.
it's fun and it's fine, and once you kind of get comfortable with it, I think you do better. We do get stuck in S&A in our SAMR model and stuff because they're easy.
Yeah.
It's the M's and the R's that are the harder. So when we get into modifying and redefining, it becomes a lot harder, because when you really analyze some of your stuff, you're like going, oh, that's just substitution. Oh, that might have had a little augmentation. But it's really not moving it into that modifying and redefining stage. So it is definitely harder. That sometimes frustrates them. And then they're like, okay, then why did I even do this when they could have just written it on paper, or we could have just done this, which is how I used to always do it. And then we have a tendency to maybe shut down. And as I was telling Terry earlier, and Melissa and I were talking about it, this year's been hard because we've been doing so well at bringing in and starting to integrate it more. And then we went into the COVID time when everything was done on our device. And this year they're back to doing stuff with the kids in the room, direct instruction, whatever. Sometimes I walk by and I'm going, oh, I haven't seen them use their device in a week, you know, kind of a thing. But for the most part, I think we're doing pretty good. It's kind of starting to get back into it again and stuff. It just was that overwhelming, we needed a break, I think, kind of a thing for some of our teachers this year. And so that's kind of what they've taken. So we use the device as a teacher presentation tool. And it's a really good thing. I mean, like, there are all kinds of presentation programs out there, and you can use about anything. Keynote is already on it. I would encourage anyone and everyone that is doing this, if they go into a school or to start teaching, or they are bringing them in to a school they're already in or whatever, and starting to use iPads, learn the device itself before you start worrying about apps. Figure out the device, how to use the device, how to use the features in the device, the settings, the accessory features, all of those types of things, and the programs that come with it. Because I think that's somewhat where we sometimes fail. We just immediately start thinking about apps for kids, and we start looking at all that kind of stuff, and then we get too much. And there's so many really good things that are already on it that can be used that don't get used or utilized enough, probably. So I would say, you know, I like Keynote. I like some of the things that you can do with your presentations in Keynote. You know, at my high school and stuff, I've actually taught the kids how to take and some of their keynotes and turn them into animated GIFs and different things like that. So there's some things that you can do within that program that I think are kind of a great feature that people don't really use because they don't really know enough about them because they skip onto something they already know, like Google Slides. Now, we are a Google school, so we use the Google products and stuff, and they're fine. Oh no, it's fine. And they're fine and everything, and I do like them and stuff. They're not as user-friendly with an iPad as they are on a desktop. And there's features on the iPad app that don't work like they do on the desktop. So then we have to go back and forth between, do you use it through Safari so that you have like the desktop version, or do you use it through the app? So there's some features with that. Nearpod is one of my favorite apps, and I used it all the time as a teacher and stuff. It's just slide presentations, but you can add all the interactives in between with it, with questions and polling and different types of things like that. So it kind of kept the kids involved. It also is a device that it puts the presentation on the kids' device, so, and they can't go forward. You control it when you're presenting it to the whole class. So when I slide, then it slides on their device, so they're focused with me the whole way through the presentation. And then intermittently there are questions or poll things or quizzes or different things like that that they have to do on their own device. You can stick in videos for them to watch, all kinds of things within the Nearpod. So I really love Nearpod. It is free, but you only have so much limited space for saving your Nearpods. So therefore, pretty quickly you run out of room. So then you have to pay for the gold version or the platinum version or whatever, and it's expensive. So again, I would watch and get careful with what you're getting into because sometimes they become overwhelming, the pricing of some of these things when you start getting into it. So I did a lot of my lessons on Nearpod, so of course I paid for the gold subscription for it and started doing that kind of stuff. Smart Lumio is smart, goes with Smart Notebook. It's their version of Nearpod basically. It's free to use. Again, I think there's a limited amount of space that you get for making your presentations and stuff with it, but it runs almost identically to like a Nearpod does. So like you push it out to the kids, they log into that thing you're going through and scrolling through, and then you can add in Smart Notebook pages where like they can interact and cooperate together, all different types of things like that. So it kind of ties the two together.
But those require the license from...
The Lumio does not. You can use Lumio up to a certain amount without the license, but you have to have the license if you want to go further. And Smart Notebook is free too. There's a free version of it. However, it doesn't have a lot of the extra features in it. So if you don't have the Smart Notebook
That's why they took our smart boards down, is because we couldn't keep up with the license.
yeah, so the subscriptions, actually probably cheaper than the Nearpod subscriptions, but the subscriptions for, when you have the subscription, it gives you both the Smart Lumio subscription to where you get more space, as well as the Smart Notebook with all the really cool features and all the extra gaming and things that they do now. And now that Flash is gone and stuff, like a lot of our teachers have created a ton of stuff on our Smart Notebooks with the old interactive stuff that were Flash-based, and they don't work. Well, the newer Smart Notebook with the paid subscription will allow you to convert a lot of that into that stuff that will work. However, without the paid part, you can't do the converting. So they're kind of out of all those extra things that they put into some of their lessons already.
Smart went from being free completely to being only licensed. You couldn't do it if it wasn't licensed. Now they've reverted back to a light version free,
Yes.
or the full version.
Or the full version
paid.
is paid.
And they were back. And you guys are, that's one of the debates everybody's having too, is do you stick with Smart, or you know, where are you going to go in the next 5 10 years? But that's a whole other discussion, I know.
Yes, and I love the Smart Notebook software. Again, I learned on that though, because we tried, when we did, putting up what kind of boards we were putting up, tried all of them, and then chose the smart boards and stuff, partly because we really liked the software that came with it and how user-friendly it was and stuff for the teachers to create. So there are others. I love Haiku Deck because it limits how much typing you can do. So when you've got kids that don't understand and know that a presentation shouldn't have tons and tons of writing on it, like it should be a paragraph on one slide, it limits and lets you do that. There's all kinds of other ones as well and stuff. Also, Haiku Deck is really picture oriented. I love Adobe Spark page and like to create presentations with that and stuff. So there's all kinds of programs that you can.
What's the name of the Adobe?
Spark page.
Spark plug.
Yeah. So there's a Spark video and a Spark, so it kind of all goes with that part of the Adobe stuff, but Spark page is one that it kind of makes it look almost like a website, and it just kind of scrolls right through everything. It's a great presentation tool.
And it's free.
And it's free. So I do love those. We also do a lot of teacher-led activities with our iPads and stuff, so the kids will have things, and we do a lot at the younger level of our little quiz games and stuff, like Kahoot and quizzes. Gimkit and Bluegit are two of my favorites. Gimkit was actually created by a high school student. It's not free anymore.
Oh.
So again, all these, you get to all these, but Bluegit is right now, and Bluegit is almost identical to Gimkit. So again, I always get excited because, oh, it's a new one and it's free, and then it doesn't stay free. But Kahoot and quizzes, and again, Nearpod has some game activities that you can create some things in there and stuff. And then we use our Google Classroom a lot with sending different types of things to the kids for them to be able to use in our teacher-led activities. So, like our teachers at the younger level, they maybe will take and make a slide presentation or something that they're going to send out to all the kids so that they have it on their devices to practice sight words.
So you're using
or
Google,
color words.
You guys have found Google Classroom's working okay in kindergarten, first, and second grades.
It,
Some schools think they have to go over to Seesaw or something else for that.
It was scary at first, and I was never comfortable with Google Classroom until we had to go remote. And we were forced to use it because that's what the district decided, since we are, a Google school. So they really learned how to do it, and I would say that wasn't until last year. We went remote and we were kind of fumbling, like making packets and all of that crazy stuff, but we had some planned remote days last year, so that if this happens again, we're all Google Classroom all the way. And obviously our remote students that were still remote last year, really, they were able to use it well, and it was really awesome to be able to just push those things out to them. Even when they were at school, then they would, push more things out, and they could do their math homework on their tablet instead of out of their workbook. I mean, not that that's like a huge time saver or anything, but they like it. So I think Google Classroom works well for all age levels.
and we used it kindergarten through 12th grade. We had a debate when we knew that we were going to be doing all this. Like, do we want like our K2 to use like Seesaw? And I love Seesaw. I mean, I think it's got some great features and some great things and stuff. But in the long run, we were like, if we have kids here using this, and then kids over here using this, and and we've got parents trying to help everybody, and they've got multiple kids, it would just be easier if we had one platform. And so, since we are Google, and everybody had been trained on Google Classroom and stuff, although when we first went remote and everything was shut down, my phone rang a lot from all my teachers going, oh my gosh, I really wish I paid better attention when you taught that Google Classroom stuff. But we decided to do, and I do think they learned very quickly how to use it. And I don't think they really struggled that much. And it is a great, easy tool to push extra things out there to the kids and stuff. Now, there's some things about it that I don't love and stuff, and that's why there's some things about Seesaw that I do like better, especially at a younger level. Most of my teachers use Class Dojo, and so they already use that as kind of a real communication tool. If you didn't have that kind of thing and stuff, I would really like the Seesaw better in that aspect at a younger level, because of the fact that there's a better communication part of it, I think, for the parents. Google Classroom, the parent part is not good. So for our little kids, I mean, we made sure their devices were all set up, everything was all ready before they ever took them home. So we had them all logged into all their Google stuff, everything was all ready. So it took some time on our part in the rooms to get them ready, but once we did, it made it good and easy. But that aspect of it and being able to have those things and being able to get stuff easily to the kids' devices has been a wonderful tool and stuff. And so, you know, I need them to watch this video. Click it up through Google Classroom, it's right there and stuff. And so, I mean, that's made a lot of things a lot quicker and easier for us for those types of things. Not that giving kids a video to watch all the time is one of our big things that we do, because we try not to do that too often, because sometimes they're educational and they really have a purpose.
I'm thinking of like stories that go with our reading curriculum. If they don't have the hard book at home, especially during remote, we would upload that story, push it out, and then they would have the story there at least to read it. It's not a page that they can write on, but they can mark on it. So at least they could, you know.
And our kids figured out the markup part of Google Classroom is not the best. It's not extremely user-friendly. They figured it out. And they figured out how to do it, and they figured out that after you did it, you had to hit the save button to save it, and before you resubmitted with your markups on it. And so even my kindergartners had it all figured out. And like I was telling Terry, my kindergarten teachers, a lot of them used Google Slide presentations to kind of make them interactive, to have the kids trying to move things like they would on a smart board and stuff. Probably not the best one, because it was a little finicky, because they have to touch exactly in the right spot for the right things to be able to make it to be able to move and stuff. And if they click too much, then they deleted stuff and different things like that. But after probably the first time, those kids figured it out and figured out how to do it and stuff. I remember the very first time we had a full remote day, I had probably 5 or 6 kindergarten parents that were like emailing me or texting me going, we think we accidentally deleted, because they had in the Google Classroom the original slide, and then they went in and edited it and stuff to move everything around, and then they needed to save it so that they could keep the edited version. We accidentally deleted the whole thing out, and we didn't save it. You did too. It's in their Google Drive. So then I had to teach them all where the Google Drive was. And the kindergartners learned that. So eventually some of the kindergartners were like, oh, I just have to go to my Google Drive and there it is. And then I can just re-click and resubmit it that way. So it became one of those things that they figured out. I think we don't give the younger kids enough credit in those kind of things. They can figure it out if we give them the time. And we've talked about this even with some of our creative apps and stuff that we ask the kids to do. We don't give them enough credit thinking they can do it by themselves, thinking that we have to do something as a group or as a whole class and stuff. But they'll figure it out and stuff if you give them some time to do it.
Were you actually using Markup in Google Classroom, or was that like Cami you were using for the Markup?
Nope, we use the Markup in Google Classroom. It's not very good, by the way. That is probably my least favorite part of the Google Classroom part, is when you do have to mark something up, is to do that little pencil over there. But we're using that. Now there were a few kids at the older levels that would download it into something else and do all their markups or all their different things and then re-upload it. But that was the older level kids that kind of knew how to do those types of things.
Notability.
But yeah, we use Notability a lot for note taking and stuff. So most of our kids, 4th grade up, know how to use that program. Love it. It's a great program. It's paid. It's not cheap. I got it when it was one of those free apps of the day and bought lots of licenses. So anyway, when we get to talking about apps, that's going to be one of the things I talk about too, is because that's important. So then the other aspect, of course, is the most important aspect of the iPads is student use, and really truly having these kids utilize these devices. Now, the first thing that everybody always thinks about is drill and scale games, the apps and stuff. And we have some of those. And we do use those. That's what we miss about the kids taking them home. Because when they took them home, some of our subscription drill and skill type things that we pay some decent amount of money for in our district to have, you know, for those kids to do, like an extra math program or Lexia or some of those types of things and stuff. We wish that they were taking them home so we could assign that as their homework. You know, play 10 minutes in this and do one lesson of this and do, you know, because then that could be that assignment. So we do miss that part of the taking it home, I think, because that could free up some of our time that we waste doing that in class. But they do have some value to them at times and stuff. But I'm going to tell you all, if you're starting this and really using iPads, don't focus on those and don't buy a ton of apps and don't go out and even get a bunch of the free apps that are all just drill and skill, because really that's not what this device is for. This device should be about really truly creating. And so one of the things that I would say is the other things that we have down here that we're really focusing on and stuff, making movies, recording themselves reading or narrating a story, creating books, creating presentations and stuff, picture collages and stuff that they can use to demonstrate what they had learned in the class, digital portfolios of their work. All those types of things are the most important part of it, because that's really where it comes down to. I read an article the other day about how sometimes we forget that, you know, these kids have had these devices and all these things that they've been using since they were toddlers, basically, and stuff, and that we just give them the same type of things they've always been doing instead of really giving them the opportunity to create and learn and do with this device what they could be doing to really show us their learning. And when they do these things, they have a better understanding and a better knowledge of what it is they've done. Like in Melissa's classroom a couple years ago, right before COVID and stuff, the kids were learning about, was it prefixes? Suffixes. We did the stop motion. Was it both?
Yeah.
Then we did the stop motion.
Stop motion, yeah.
So we did stop motion videos in 2nd grade. And she and I, neither one had played with the app. We found an app that we just downloaded. There are hundreds of stop motion video apps, so I can't say pick one versus the other. We found an app, we downloaded it, we played with it a little bit. We showed the kids, and they played with it, and they figured it out, and they created their own stop motion videos that were integrating their prefixes and suffixes together. They were so cute when they got done. And they did.
You have to do it this way.
Yeah. So the kids figured it out. We had the kids take, I wrote a grant because I did want this app, the Do Ink green screen app. There are all kinds of green screen apps, but that Do Ink one is definitely more for elementary level kids. It's a paid app. And then there's an animation app that's also paid that goes right along with it, that's part of the Do Ink stuff as well. And so I wrote a grant to get a green screen portable one for our elementary school and the app so that all kindergarten through 4th grade could have them and stuff. And so we've done several different activities throughout the whole building and stuff now. But her class one year, the kids made dioramas of habitats. That's right, it was on habitats. And so they had their habitat dioramas, and they were in groups and stuff, and they wrote their scripts out and everything. And then they went and stood in front of the green screen and read their scripts and did their stuff and everything. And then we put them into their dioramas. So they actually made the real dioramas out of the shoe boxes and everything. So they had the old school feel of that. But then after they green screened themselves, we put them into the dioramas so that they were in the habitat. And they dressed up as if they were in that habitat, giving their whole lecture on that habitat and everything, and telling us all about it. And then they added animations to it, and so the ocean one had a shark swimming after them or something, and stuff. And so they created their own green screen movies with it and stuff. But what a way to show and culminate that I learned about habitats and stuff, was to be able to do all of that. And they remembered that stuff, and so they loved doing that. Our 3rd graders this year did a green screen one. Our theme this year in our schools around the world, and so they were studying national parks as their start part of the year. So they were national park workers and telling about each of their national parks and stuff. And so they shut down their classroom and they were producing and editing and directing and everything and recording and the whole thing. And so they made their own green screen videos on that one as well and stuff. And our younger students will do some videos and stuff like that too. A lot of times they do them in groups, partners if nothing else. They don't do a lot of individual ones. We have found that it's sometimes difficult if you don't separate them completely though, because you've got a lot of sound stuff going on when they got multiple ones trying stuff. Because we don't have like a great room to be able to take them to and say, we're doing it here. So sometimes the green screen's in the hallway, sometimes it's in the lobby, sometimes it's in the library, you know, so we try to find locations for it. But as of right now, our school doesn't have that, like, oh, here, we got this multi-use room that we can go in, shut the door and do this kind of stuff. So we, you know, for the third grade when we took it into the classroom, and I think we did with yours too, had it in the classroom, and then they just had to be really quiet while we were videoing. But then when they're trying to edit and add some additional audio and stuff, then you have to be careful because you've got all this additional sound in the classroom. That's always been one of our biggest things. We have a program called Raz Kids that we pay the subscription for and stuff. I do like that program. I think it's a great program for them to use. It's a great learning tool for reading and stuff. It can become a huge part of your reading curriculum if you really got figured out and used all aspects of it. But one of the parts of Raz Kids is to have the kids actually read their story and then they send it to you. So they record it on their iPad and send it to you. And then you later on can listen to it and check their fluency levels. So then that way you're not having to spend, as a teacher, all this time doing each individual student for a 1-minute excerpt to do their fluency levels. You can sit at home and listen to that 1-minute reading and do their fluency.
I love it for just prosody for the kids. Like, listen to yourself right now. How do you sound? Do you sound like a fluent reader? Like, are you reading with expression in your voice? All of that. So, no, I sound like a robot. Yep.
But it's kind of hard if you have multiple ones trying to record themselves all at the same time. So you have to have, here's my spot that's recording, everybody else is over here doing something else, working quietly while I've got this one recording and this one maybe recording, because otherwise it becomes too much. And then you can't really hear it well. But there are great tools and abilities for those types of things. It's a great way, they're recording themselves, not just reading, but just telling or narrating a story. I love Flipgrid for that purpose and stuff. And you can use it down in the kindergarten level. The kids love to videotape themselves or have somebody videotape them telling something. So if you just put out there a little Flipgrid prompt and have them all re-answer it back to you off of something, or tell you a story about what happened throughout this part of the day, or this, when they went on this walk, what did you see, type of thing, so that you can see that they were engaged in everything. That's a great way to do that kind of stuff. Also, if it's just even with a voice memo, just having them use the voice memo on the iPad to just record their voice and stuff, and then save that voice memo and send it to the teacher so that they can have those types of things. Those are all great ways, and for you to, as a teacher, to know, hey, they got it because they can retell me all of these things. You know, we just did this whole project, and then they can retell this whole thing back to me. And that's one of the best ways of knowing that they really understood it. When we're making movies, at our kindergarten through like 2nd, 3rd grade level and stuff, my kids love clips. One of the best apps that Apple came out with, I think, is Clips. It's easy to use. It's easy to add a little music. It's easy. It's just an easy program. It's easy to add some text stuff into it and different features. So they really like Clips, and we do quite a bit of things with that. Melissa's class this year, we're learning about silent E, and so she had found this video on YouTube that was was he Sneaky on YouTube?
Magic-y.
Magic-y. And so we recreated that and had all the kids had parts and they had to read their parts and everything. And we recreated that whole thing and had the students, pretend like they were flying in and doing all kinds of things and stuff with that. And we created that one with clips as well. And then creating books. We have Book Creator, and we have the paid version, so you can have more than one book, because the free version only lets you do one book at a time. Then you have to download it, and delete the old one, and do a new one, which you can do that. I mean, it's fine, but it's a lot more work. We did get enough apps of that one so that we all have that one. And actually, I have that through 8th grade. So I got enough apps of that one that I can have it through my 8th grade, to where they can have multiple ones. Our students do create presentations, especially when they start getting into some of the older levels and stuff. And I found that the ones that have the interactive components, like Nearpod and things like that, my kids love it. Like when I was like, you go in and make a Nearpod thing and then you get to be the teacher and teach it and stuff. They think that's the best thing ever. And even the little kids love to do that, because they'll be like, can I do that one today? And then I'll pull up a Nearpod lesson and they want to be the teacher and teach it. So we do a lot of that kind of stuff. Picture collages, we use Pic Collage. It's free. There are some paid parts to that if you want extra clip art and extra things like that, but you don't need any of that. So we use Pic Collage. There are, again, hundreds of thousands of those out there that you can pick from too. And then digital portfolios of the work. Some of ours use Class Dojo to make their digital portfolios, because the teachers are already using Class Dojo, and so it's got its own portfolio component. But there are others that you can use as well and stuff, or you can just actually make a kid blog and they can put some of their work on their blog or different types of things like that. But it's basically just about the kids taking pictures and putting their videos and their different types of things all together so that you have that whole component of everything they did in the year. So it's just a nice way to kind of look back on all those things and see what it is they're doing and learning and stuff. But those are some of the biggies that we like to use. We were really lucky. Our school district really bought into the whole, if we need apps, we'll pay for them. Not all school districts will do that, nor do they have the ability to do that, and that's fine, because again, there's so much you can do on the iPad without even any additional apps, really. But if you need some additional ones, there's a lot of free ones out there. I do know that, like, at our early childhood classrooms, like our pre-K rooms and our pre-K special ed rooms and stuff, they do a lot more drill and skill. They don't do as much of the other stuff. Sometimes you might get some recording of a student, like reading something or retelling a story about something or things like that, but they don't do as much of the other stuff. They do a lot more of the drill and skill type things and stuff. Some of that's more because it's just teaching them the skills that they need for their gross motor skills and fine motor skills and stuff like that. But that's kind of where they're at and stuff. And I do have a few of the different apps and things that we use that I was going to at least show you what the apps look like. But like I said, some of them are free, some of them are paid. I do the app advice every day so that I can see what free ones are on there on a daily basis and stuff. Sometimes they're free for a day only, sometimes they're free for a week, sometimes they're free for the whole month. It just depends.